Welcome to the Along Podcast. I'm Tracy, a baby boomer.
And I'm Sierra, a millennial.
And on this show, we're not afraid to talk about age and how it changes things, from wellness to lifestyle, relationships, and just life. So come along with us today as we talk about finding and living your purpose. That's a big one.
Yep.
I was thinking about what it means, what purpose means, and aging. And at my age, if you're single and no children, it's like I'm thinking, I look around at my friends who do have kids and they have their grandchildren, and it seems like that is the purpose. That's their purpose. It's sort of like you get to a certain age and then it's all about the kids and the grandchildren. And I don't know. It's like a hard thing. I don't know if I've lost my way or if I always think of purpose in a different way. I think of it more in my own path rather than in terms of having, the connections with people. But that is a big part of purpose. And I asked some friends what they think. And my single friends said they think that not having a husband or a spouse or a partner and children opens up your choices for purpose. And then my married friends with kids said it's totally separate. Purpose and being a parent is a separate thing. Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
I think purpose is about what fulfills you. And for some people, it's probably not just one thing. In fact, I would argue for a lot of people, it's not just one thing. I think when we talk purpose, we're often talking about, I think people often kind of use that in the same term as legacy. This idea of what are people going to remember me by? What is my life for? Mm-hmm. And what is the point of all of this? And to be honest, I think those two deserve to be separated, legacy and purpose, because purpose should really be about you. And legacy is more about how you want to be remembered. But I don't necessarily think that you have to have a legacy in order to make a life full of purpose.
That's a good question, because I don't think of legacy a lot, but I think you're right. I think we ultimately, especially the older you get, you think about that. Okay, what will people remember me by? Mm-hmm. And then there's the part about work. So there's legacy, there's meaning, and there's the work. And so how that all fits in. What would you say your purpose is, Sierra?
I think my purpose in life has become more about my relationships with other people, about feeling like I am being somebody who, at the end of the day, like, makes people feel better, that they walk away feeling like their cup is full. I would consider myself, in a very weird way, even though I'm not a mother, like a pretty motherly person, of someone who likes to give and likes to be there for the people that I'm close with. And I honestly, that's like kind of what I just boil it down to, whether it's friendships or my romantic relationships or my family. It's just really about trying to be that best person. And everything else, like to do with my career and everything, those are fun and fulfilling things that I get to do, but it's not my purpose.
Because when I was finding the definition for purpose, the thing that stuck out for me is that it's about actions that contribute to something bigger than yourself. I think that's what you're describing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
It's almost like it's this weird thing, because people often think of purpose as your job. It can be your job and something that you have to do every day. But it's so much, I think it's so much more than that.
I think people also use purpose as like an avenue to identity. So like when you're talking about people who are parents who like that's their life purpose, I think being a parent, that's a really quick way to find a low-hanging fruit purpose, right?
Yeah.
Like not that isn't something that you should want to do, but like that's one piece of it. I think true purpose is more than just the title you give yourself as mom or dad or a creative or a filmmaker or an artist or whatever it is. It's something greater than that inside. And so I understand why when you were talking about your friends who have kids, they were saying, well, that's just a piece of it. That's kind of separate. That's a separate purpose. And it's probably because there's a lot of overlap that they do get fulfillment from that, but it's not their identity.
Yeah, it may be this time in my life that when I thought about that and the purpose, and it's like, is that really what it could come down to? I mean, I'm hoping not, because I just notice it so much in that sense of giving you that meaning as you get older. And yet, for those of us who aren't parents and who are single, I guess it's just a different thing. It's a different meaning in life. It's, for me, work is my purpose because it's creative.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about I think it's what drives you.
What drives you and what makes you feel meaningful in your life.
Yeah. What would you say, like, okay, so your purpose is really about friendships and connections?
No, my purpose is about how I behave in those friendships and connections. It's important to me that I am a solid person and that I am giving to those connections in a way that's fulfilling to them, not just self-serving for me.
It's such a hard thing to define.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. But I think that, like, yes, it is in that sense, like, it is about making sure that those connections are good, right? It's about, spending time with my family and making time for my friends. That's part of being somebody who is in my mind, of like that purpose of being someone who genuinely cares and gives to others. Like, if that's my purpose, then part of it is prioritizing friendships and relationships and things like that. But I would say it's probably like the same as like somebody who is a parent. Like, they want to be a good parent. Hopefully, I assume like most people who go into being parents want to be good parents. But the takeaway at the end of it is not about necessarily the fact that they have a kid and that their life becomes about that. It's probably more about who they are and who they transformed into because they had a kid.
Yeah. I think for me, my purpose is about constantly evolving and being a better human being.
Yeah.
And it is connecting with other people.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I mean, maybe I'm just too much of a loner on a certain level. You spend a lot of time alone, and then purpose comes into it. Because if you don't have human connection, is it meaningless? Does life get meaningless? I mean, I
Big
think
philosophical questions here.
I think things like self-care, fitness, being really healthy mentally, spiritually, and physically is absolutely essential. And to be as healthy as you can the older you get, because I have to say age does play a part. I think that's what I'm struggling with right now, is that you think about that. You start thinking about, okay, I want to be as healthy as I can as the years go by, and as it's just a weird place. It's a weird place to be this age. There is something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah. It's funny because what I'm hearing from you is that you're really kind of grappling with like the question that we all sort of ask ourselves, which I guess it is tied to purpose, but it's like, what are we all doing this for?
Exactly.
Why are we all on this, like, Ferris wheel or whatever it is, carousel ride, whatever, where we just keep going round and round, and like, and I think the truth of the matter is as much as I love to entertain that question of like, what are we all doing here? I also kind of like the idea of just letting go of that question. Mm-hmm. Because the more you try and figure out why am I doing this, the more you realize like, well, me doing this is the whole point. Which sounds crazy, but it's like the journey is the point. Like, life is a journey. Exactly. And the journey is the whole point of life, not the end place where you end up. And I don't know, maybe that's just like more really like a laissez-faire way of thinking of it, but like I try to not overthink it past that, because the truth of the matter is like if you spend so much time trying to think of my big purpose is this big grandiose thing that I hope to achieve at the end of life, I feel like you're going to get disappointed.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, Sierra. You really have. Because if you try too hard, then you're eliminating the purpose on a certain level. Mm-hmm. And there is that thing about, and this is getting very philosophical, but it's that thing where if you just surrender and you just live life in the moment,
Yep.
that's kind of the key. I honestly, to be completely honest, I go through life wondering, am I just a visitor here?
God, we're all just visitors here. What are you talking about?
Okay.
We all die.
But a visitor in the sense that, am I on the right planet? And I know that's a really weird thing to say.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel.
Yeah.
It's like, am I where I'm supposed to be? Because I don't get how life is, and just going through life in the normal way of life.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, it's not that I'm depressed about it. It's just I kind of don't get it.
Yeah. It is funny because every once in a while, I mean, have you heard of the sim theory?
I think a little bit.
It's like one of those philosophical theories. Did you ever take a philosophy class in college or any of those?
Yeah, it's been a while.
There's like a bunch of different like philosophy theories of like what's really happening in the world, and like some of them have like this idea of a sim. There's another one, and I don't remember any of the philosophers' names, but there's like the idea that we're all just living in a sim, and like there's somebody like controlling it. There's also like this sort of like puppet master sort of theory, or there's like a theory that we are like there's some other universe, like we're a universe within a universe within a universe, and some other universe is like we're like the entertainment for the universe for that universe, and that universe is entertainment for another universe. Like there's just so many theories of like none of this really matters. And sometimes I do, when things get really ridiculous in life, I just sort of default to that, and I'm like, maybe that is what's happening. That this is just some entertainment for like we're like the Kardashians for some other universe where they just like to pop in, cause drama, and just watch what happens, and then we just sort of all live in the reality of it.
I mean, I know it is. It's a total conundrum.
Yeah,
and you can either overthink it, like I do sometimes, or you just, like you said,
let it be.
Just let it be, and let life lead you.
Yeah. I honestly, I think that's the better way. I kind of joke with people all the time, like, I don't have a 5-year plan. I'm like Elmo.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen the Elmo chicken shop date?
No.
Do you know what chicken shop date is? No. Oh my gosh. Okay. It's like this YouTube.
See, because I'm a baby
Yeah,
boomer.
I know. Well, it's this YouTube like series, and it's just really funny. But anyway, Elmo was on chicken shop date, and the girl asked Elmo, "What's your 5-year plan?" And he goes, "5-year plan? Elmo doesn't know what he's going to do in 5 hours." What do you mean 5-year plan? And that's me. I too, Elmo, do not have a 5-year plan. And it's because, honestly, it doesn't mean I don't have goals. I just don't have like this like really worked out plan. I got a rough general landing area of where I want to be.
Yeah.
But I find that when you make really, really specific plans, it really kind of keeps you from accepting the flow of life. And you get really attached to something. It has to go in this direction, and it can really limit your opportunities, I find. Because some of the biggest, especially in my career, some of the best things that have ever happened to me in terms of where I ended up in my life came from just going with the flow and letting life kind of take me where it took me. Now, you have to be responsible with that. Obviously, you still got to pay your bills and stuff.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But, you know, if you can be a little less attached to outcome, that does help kind of get through life in a way. And I think ultimately, like when you look at like the Buddhists and the monks and all of that, they talk about letting go of this idea of like the attachments in life to sort of like center on like this whatever inner peace. And I think I'm certainly very, very far from that, but there's a little piece of that can kind of help you.
I think, Greg, what do you think? What do you think about purpose? How important is that to you?
Man, as a fellow Sagittarius.
Yes, I forgot about that. That's a good
Is this
point.
a Sagittarius thing, like wondering about your life?
Tracy and I, so I think about this kind of stuff a lot, and it can get pretty nihilistic pretty quick, because you're like, yeah, what does any of this mean? And
Is that why I don't think about this? Because I'm a Gemini, and I just
maybe.
live life in the wind, like do 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 do.
I mean, I think on the macro level, nothing matters, but on the micro level, everything matters. You know, like the things that you do specifically affect people in their experience as they're having it right now. But in the grand scheme, it's all just a symphony of nonsense for the universe's own entertainment in some way, you know, like, I don't know. Like, I think what's clear is that there is some sort of other, call it a spirit realm, whatever the thing, whatever the source of consciousness is that we've sprung from, to have this biological experience that's intentionally difficult and arduous, but also joyous, because, you know, otherwise, like, you can't have a peak without a valley, right? And so I don't know. Yeah, like, when I think about what is my purpose, I don't feel like I have a thing that's like, oh, this is what I was sent here to do. Like, at some people where they're like, I was sent here to, like, you know, help starving children, or like, you know, I definitely don't have that. I'm like, if anything, it's like, yeah, maybe just, I liked your answer, Sierra, about, you know, trying to bring a little joy into people's lives and that sort of thing, and just being a better person. And I think that's what I've always just tried to do, is like, how can I be the best version of myself? And then if I bring that to the world, that, you know, it's the only thing I can control is what I do. And if I do good stuff in the world, then, you know, I'm doing my part.
Right, because you're right to what you just said right before that, which is that we are a part of it. Like, in the grand scheme of things, probably none of this matters, but in the immediacy, the way we act in the world does influence other people's, you know, lives. And so I think, it's like this kind of push and pull of, like, how much do you stay rooted in reality, and how much are you like, just let it go, it's not that big a deal. Like, none of it really matters at the end of the day in the world, you know. Kind of depends.
Yeah, and I was just looking up in generations how people are feeling, and there definitely is a high percentage of anxiety now, and people are searching for their purpose.
I mean, a lot's going on in the world, so.
And the younger generations are definitely feeling a lack of purpose. At the same time, they want to have purpose in their work. It's not separate. Like, when I was younger, like, that was the whole thing, is people just did the corporate thing, which I didn't do. So maybe that's part of it for me personally. And being a Sagittarius, where I don't want to live a predictable life in a 5-year plan, like you said. That just always has freaked me out. And just let life lead you. You know, you've got, like you said, you have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But just be as spontaneous as possible, rather than have life so planned out.
Yeah, and I think, so it's funny that you talk about how the younger generation is searching for purpose more. Some of that I do think is connected to the idea that we've really, as a culture, gone away from the idea of having a job and then, like, your life is something you enjoy and your job just is the thing that allows you to enjoy life. We've merged them so much.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in work culture, like, specifically, like, you look at the startup culture. When you look at that startup unicorn world that kind of really blew up in the 2010s, so much of that was about making sure that your work is a place where you want to spend every waking minute of your time there. That you, like, they fed your meals. They had, like, you know, air hockey tables and, like, social and, like, beer on tap and all these things about, like, merging and blurring those lines. And I really miss the days where those were separate. Because I do, because quite frankly, like, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be like Office Space where I just, like, hate my job and I'm just, like, just getting a paycheck and I'm just trying to, like, you know, just get through hour by hour of my day. I want to enjoy my job, but I don't want my job to be my life. I actively try to make sure that my job is not my life. And it's hard because sometimes somebody who is very career driven and I am a bit of a people pleaser. There are definitely times in my life where my job takes over and there's no work-life balance. But I always kind of strive to bring it back because I don't want my identity to be wrapped up in a job.
And I've always been, because of the creative world, it's always been the big part of my life because I love, it's so integrated in who I am.
We might have a different view of that because I am in the corporate world and corporations tend to have layoffs. And so if I really identified completely with my job, then it would be really treacherous if I lost my job. And I think a lot of people do that. I think there are a lot of people, especially really high achiever people, that's just how they are high achievers, is that they just are the type of person that they will bury themselves in that work. It becomes their entire life. But then if you take that away, then they kind of fall apart. And that's scary to me. I've seen it happen to a lot of friends. I've definitely been in times of my life where that was the path that I was on, and I've just kind of tried to stay away from it. But I'm also in the corporate world. You're a freelancer. That might be a little bit of a different thing because you're going project by project.
Exactly. Yeah.
Greg's also a freelancer, right? And so, but there's the other thing, Greg, I don't want to speak for you, but as a freelancer, you do have to take on jobs that are just pay the bills. And then there are the ones that you're passionate about. And I think finding that balance is probably its own sort of little purpose and fulfillment thing in a similar way that I have to deal with the corporate world.
Yeah. Cause I resonate with Tracy where it's so much being in the creative world, it's your work does become a little bit of your identity and you get wrapped up in it. And yes, there's the jobs you take that pay the bills and it's still fun, but it's you're always trying to chase these projects that are truly fulfilling and interesting to you personally. And that's the, the perfect Goldilocks zone of you're going to spend more time working than doing anything else in your life. So I've always tried to find how can I make that enjoyable? And the creative path, as tough as it can be at times, is a great way to do that. There's something to be said. It's not one is better than the other. Sometimes I envy the corporate, you get a paycheck, same paycheck every 2 weeks. You budget accordingly. You can get sick days and days off and whatever, and healthcare and this and that. There's a lot to benefit from it. But for so many people, it is clock in, clock out. Let me get to the weekend and spend time with my friends and family. And that's real life and work is not. Whereas I think for people like you and I, Tracy, it's probably there's a lot more of a blend.
I mean, it's a crazy life. The creative life it's definitely has its positives and negatives. I think it came for me from my family and my dad flying for the airlines because I have always wanted to have that life where I'm out there in the world, just out there. And especially for me, purpose is getting people's stories. If I could pick something that would be 100% fulfilling, it would be interviewing people about their stories, kind of like what we're doing in a way.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting here working on this, on these episodes, and I'm thinking, what is my purpose? And I'm going, this is really a part of my purpose. And because I'm lost in the time. I just do it and I get lost in it. And I have this expectation that life should be like that.
Yeah.
But if you're not in the corporate world, I mean, it's a totally different experience and so exhilarating, so fulfilling on so many levels, but it's also so confusing on other levels, and sometimes you feel as if you are a total outsider, and so many people are doing that corporate thing.
Even in LA, I feel like no one here has a real job in LA.
And you know what? That's true. And some comedian just said that. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel made that comment. He goes, no one has a job here.
No, I mean,
what do they do?
I work from home and I work mostly East Coast hours. So sometimes I'm done with my meetings at 2 and I might go to the gym at 2 and it is packed.
I know.
Completely packed. And I'm like, what? Not everybody here has worked in East Coast hours. So what is happening?
So the big question could be, do we really even need to even have a purpose? I mean, maybe that's the conundrum, like you said. It's just, don't worry about the purpose. Just live your life.
I think it depends on what your definition of purpose is. But if we're using purpose as saying something that fulfills you in life, yes, I do think you need purpose in that sense. I think you need to find the things in life that fulfill you in order to make life worth the journey. But if we're talking about purpose as in like some like end goal that's like similar to how people think of legacy of how I'm leaving my mark on something, I think people should worry less about that.
It's so funny because if you don't worry about having a purpose, that is your purpose.
Yeah.
That's the irony.
I have to tell you, like, one of the best things, I don't know if like kids are the same way with this, but one of the best things that ever happened to me in terms of like being a much calmer person about just like being in the moment and not worrying too much about the big stuff was getting a dog. If you've ever watched a dog on a walk, especially my dog is like the happiest dog in the world. And when she sniffs a flower, she's in it. Her face is so like, like just like everything is like such a joyous moment in that. And you just watch that and you're like, wow, she is so happy with this little thing. And if you just watch anybody, and I think kids are kind of the same way, when kids get really excited about something, you're like, what a simple pleasure. And like focusing a little bit more on enjoying the simple pleasures, the things that we kind of forget because we're too caught up in the big picture of things, like that I feel like really helps kind of calm you down from this stress of like having to have it all figured out.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing that can cause the most anxiety.
Yes, the stress of having to figure it all out.
And trying to find that purpose. Isn't that just such a crazy thing?
I know.
If you just go with the flow, as you talked about, Greg, you mentioned that before, that can just make life so much easier. Mm-hmm. That's the job then. Maybe that is the purpose. Well, I love Napoleon Hill. Do you know about Napoleon Hill?
I do know Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich. It's such a great book. And what he says is, in terms of finding your purpose, just contemplating it, what he says is, what is it that you must build before your time here is done? That can be anything.
See, that to me is more like legacy.
I think it is legacy.
Yeah. Napoleon Hill and I have a different view of purpose then.
And the thing is, yeah, I mean, I don't know if legacy is that important, but I think everybody wants it on a certain level. Mm-hmm. They want something that people will remember them by. But here's the funny thing. Once you're gone, what does it matter?
Yeah.
God, I sound like such a defeatist. It's like,
what does it matter?
Does any of it matter? But I go back to that notion that just being in the moment is probably the answer. It's just simple.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have anything more to contribute to this purpose. I hope you all find a purpose, your purpose, and whatever works. And until then, thanks for coming along with us today. If you want more, you can check us out on TikTok and Instagram at Along Podcast, and give us a follow wherever you're listening or watching. See you next time.